All right, good morning, everyone. Today is February 23rd, 2022. It is now 10:01, and I'm calling this meeting to order. For the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission, this is a special meeting being held today, and the agenda and packet was sent out in advance, as well as some of the other materials to our commissioners. So I'd like to start out the meeting. First, we will do a quick roll call. We'll do it in a different order. I will do introductions, welcomes, and then we'll do the roll call next, in case that we have anybody coming on a little bit late. So welcome everyone. Nice to see everybody. Well, we saw some people. If you do get a chance to turn on your camera for the commissioners, that would be great. That way I can see you. And if you either raise your little electronic hand or raise your hand, then we can make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. I think we'll have a really good policy discussion today on some topics, and I know Zoom is kind of an awkward way to do that, so we'll make sure we get everybody an opportunity to speak. And again, I don't think we intend to interrupt, but if I'll try to make sure I call on people so we can kind of hold the floor for each other, just from the standpoint of there's so many people in the screen, it's hard to keep up with everybody sometimes. So with that, I'd like to welcome our three new commissioners and ask each of you to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience and what brings you to the commission today. And we'll start with Commissioner, Drevis Krasht. I'm not sure if I said that properly.
Thank you. It's Ryan Drevis-Scrat, but I go by Drevis-Scrat. Yes, I go by Ryan Drevis, whatever you want to call me.
What's the origin of your last name?
German Dutch. Yeah, it used to have a
Okay,
hyphen in the middle, so I don't know.
Oh.
My parents. And if
Gotcha.
you can believe I got my wife to take my name, she must really love me, huh?
Well, you have to look every time to make sure you spell it right.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Like I said, my name is Ryan Drevis-Scrat. I am an attorney. I'm a partner at the firm of Glenda Brodman, where I've been practicing Indigenous people's civil rights for the past 10 years. And I'm so excited to be with you guys on this team. There's some really heavy hitters here, and it's an honor to serve with you all. I look forward to rolling on my sleeves and doing the work.
Awesome, welcome. All right, next we have Commissioner Bart Logue. I think we're being outnumbered by attorneys today, so anybody that if you start to get a rash, you'll know why, but welcome to our newest commission members.
Thank you, sir. I am not an attorney, so I might help balance the scales a little bit. But my name is Bart Logue. I am the police ombudsman for the city of Spokane, working in civilian oversight of police. My experience was 26 years in the Marine Corps, which culminated in an opportunity to be a U.S. diplomat to Jordan in the Middle East. So I retired to the easy life of civilian oversight of law enforcement. I thought it would be far less challenging than it has turned out to be, but what a time to be in it. And that's what brings me to the commission.
Wonderful. Yeah, we look forward to hearing your experiences. And last, but not least, Commissioner Anita Kandenball. Are you here? Again, I apologize for the screen because there are so many of us that we take up more than one screen oftentimes. Do we have our newest commissioner with us? Lacey, do you see her somewhere? I'm not seeing.
I am also taking a look. Commissioner Kondawal. It doesn't look like she's present.
Okay, if she comes on, we'll let me know. We will take the time to have her introduce herself.
Oh wait, I do
see
her. Actually.
Oh.
Looks like she's trying to connect.
All right, well, while she's trying to connect, why don't we go ahead and do roll call, and hopefully she'll get connected by the time you're finished.
Okay, sounds great. All right, Chair Myers,
Present?
Commissioner Holmberg,
I know Commissioner Holmberg is going to try to attend today, so we'll see if he is able to pop on. He had several conflicts.
okay, Commissioner Kelsey,
Present.
Commissioner Snaza, Commissioner Satterberg,
Present.
Vice Chair Quinn, Commissioner Webb,
Present.
designee for Commissioner Batiste, Assistant Chief Shannon Bendixson.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Sapp,
Present.
Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Raynon,
Commissioner Robinson is present. Sorry, couldn't find the mute button.
no prob, thank you.
Got to work on that remote invention.
Perfect. Commissioner Raynon,
Yes, I'm here.
thank you. Commissioner Cal,
He is sporting his CJTC attire, as is Commissioner Satterberg. Just they were rubbing it in before the meeting, so I thought I would make that note.
perfect. Commissioner Anaya,
Present.
Commissioner Hunter,
Present.
Commissioner Kendricks,
Good morning, present.
Commissioner Thomas,
Good morning, everyone. Present.
good morning. Commissioner Pickup,
Present.
Commissioner Joseph,
Present.
Commissioner Johnson,
Good morning. Present.
good morning. Commissioner Logue,
Present.
Commissioner Kondawal,
Present.
thank you, and Commissioner Drevishkach.
Present.
Well, by my count, it looks like we have a quorum.
Yes, we do.
Exciting. Thank you all for being here today. I would like to have our newest commissioner, Anita Condonwall, introduce herself, although she just disappeared from camera, to the commission, so we get to know you a little bit better. Oh, now you're back. Thank you for joining. I know you're having trouble connecting. Please introduce yourself and what brings you to the commission.
Hi, my name is Anita Condello. I am the director of the King County Department of Public Defense. I've worked here for the past 5 years or so, and prior to that, I've worked sort of in and around public defense for almost all of my legal career. And my understanding was that the commission was looking for someone with sort of public defense perspective. And so I will hopefully be able to offer that in a way that is useful to the commission. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for joining and being here. And I think we have everybody. Like I said, I'm not sure if our vice chair is going to make it on. I haven't talked to him this last week, and I know that as I mentioned earlier, Commissioner Holmberg was going to try to make it. This is his last meeting. So roll call is complete. Chair's report, have a couple of things to go through. First of all, there's been some, with the change in the law that took effect July 25th, now there is an opportunity for commissioners themselves to actually participate as a member of a hearing panel. That's something new in the statute. And there was a little bit of confusion as to if you were interested in doing so, how you would go about that process. And so staff has streamlined that. So there's no application necessary as we do with other appointments to the hearing panels that we've seen here. I apologize for you that are new, and we will get you caught up. I'm sorry I didn't call you ahead of time. I tried to, but it's been kind of a crazy couple of weeks. But so the hearing panels members are made up of those whom are appointed by the commission to that position, with the exception of you who are commissioners, because obviously you've already been appointed by the governor, so there's no point in appointing you to the panel when you've already been appointed. So if you are interested in and statutorily qualified to be a member of a hearing panel for peace officer or corrections officer decertification, please reach out to the executive director. I assume, Monica, you prefer that, just send an email to the executive director indicating your intent or availability to serve on a hearing panel. Be aware hearing panels are scheduled as needed. It's very similar to a court case where panel members may be called, the case may be going to hearing, then it's continued or it's settled or other things come up. So it's not a guarantee that if the commission says, hey, we have a hearing on the 25th of March, that it'll actually go at that time, but the panel would be encompassed by those whom are available and appointed to that particular panel. Is that okay, Director? Maybe Commissioner Robinson can help you find the mute button. There we go. Okay.
That is fine. And Kevin Zeller will talk about it a little bit in a few minutes with his process. So that'll give him a little bit more information about it. But I absolutely appreciate anyone that is willing to put their name in the hat. We don't have that many hearings, so it's not like you're going to get called all the time. So I would encourage everyone that is interested in sitting on a panel to submit their name. And if you can't do it, that's fine. Also, we can go on to the next name, because that happens with our law enforcement professionals as well. They can't always answer the call, and we understand that, but that having a nice, robust list helps us to keep moving forward. So thank you. And Commissioner Reynon has his hand up.
I see that. And so it's not as difficult to avoid service as it is trying to come up with excuses not to go to jury duty, is what you're saying. Commissioner Reynon.
That's correct.
We've already put our name in or noted our interest. Do we need to do it again?
No, if you've already submitted your name, you're good. Thank you.
Thank you for your volunteering. Do you want to, the executive director wanted to introduce now Kevin Zeller. I think he was here a second ago. Everybody keeps moving, so I apologize. Again, I look forward to meeting in person because I think it will be, this is convenient, but it's difficult to manage sometimes. You want to introduce Kevin?
So actually, well, I can introduce him, but I wanted to introduce him right before we start having the discussion that we're going to have about the different hearings and cases. And so he's going to give us an overview of how the process works. So that's when I wanted to introduce him.
Okay, I stand corrected. We will do that later. So that just make contact the executive director with your interest. There's hearing, so information regarding hearing panel member appointments and K-9 applications for those who do the evaluation of the K-9 teams was sent out to your email in advance. I know the commission staff is working on getting you official state emails, so you don't have to try to juggle whatever email you're using, whether it be work or personal or anything else. So at least all your commission business will be in one spot. We do have quite a few public records requests over time. So it would be best to, of course, keep that on the state server. Then the IT staff and public records staff at the commission can then account for, follow, and provide those emails and other information. But in the meantime, please make sure you do maintain any emails or communications that are official in nature from the commission, even if it's on your personal email. But if you get a chance to review those, I don't believe that we're going to be taking action on those today, but they were sent in advance. Those will be on the agenda for the March meeting. So you have plenty of time to review them. I know that was a few of the commissioners had asked to make sure have that material well in advance so they can do their due diligence on those applicants. So this is your opportunity. So please make sure you check your email. And if you don't receive it, reach out to the director or reach out to Lacey, her administrative assistant, who keeps all the wheels running on the tracks. I did want to report to the commission, and my vice chair is not here to back me up, but I do want to report to the commission that I took the opportunity as the chair to authorize a pay increase for our executive director, Monica Alexander. First of all, I don't believe that her pay increase needs to be justified, but since we are a public agency and we are transparent, I wanted to make sure that people understood my thought process, and that's why I'm sharing it. First of all, the CJTC executive director salary is set by a state system where they review those salaries over time and then they make adjustments according to market values and other such considerations. Unfortunately, as far back as we can go, and I've been on the commission quite some time, we do not recall, at least in the last 10 years, that this salary has been adjusted, at least for market conditions. The salary was adjusted for COLA like other state employees, but the actual position of the executive director of this commission was not, I believe, dutifully reviewed and adjusted accordingly. I also would argue that the current and new duties of the commission make it such that the duties of the executive director are extensive. They are quite encompassing. They involve numerous legal and ethical and operational considerations that previous directors did not have on their plate. And it also involves a great deal of now what is become oversight of peace officers and corrections officers under the certification process, which is really new territory. And that's part of the discussion we're having today as a request of our commissioners. So I took the liberty to bump her up to full available pay scale because I didn't see any reason, since this has been 10 years in adjustment. If you amortize out the jump in pay, it amortizes out to 2 or 3% a year of what it should have been. So unless there's any objection, and I would also note in my argument, I have had the opportunity to work with Monica as the executive director now for some time. She is what I would characterize as good people. And when you have good people doing good work and working so hard, it is not unusual for us to have a conversation at 6 in the morning when I'm just literally rolling out of bed and she's already on her way to work or at work. So I cannot emphasize enough the important role that Monica Alexander has played in this position, the importance of providing. I know she's not in it for the money, but when times are tough, I do believe that the pay that you reflect in someone's position should be commensurate with the appreciation you have for what they bring to that position and their work that is being done. I also believe that the executive director was suffering from compression from the salary adjustments of those whom she supervises. And it just, this will provide a little bit of relief so that she is being remunerated for the hard work and the good work she's doing. Are there any objections to the actions that the chair took regarding the salary adjustment for our executive director? All right, hearing no objection, moving on. And I also tell her she needs to go take her lunches, but she doesn't do that either. So she works at her desk, which is bad. Once again, I will throw the challenge out, and those of you that have your official shirts definitely have no excuse. And all of you should be receiving your CJTC identification badge and key cards. So with that, I would like to encourage or challenge you to spend at least a day or part of a day at the Academy, whether that be in Spokane or in Burien or both, to get to see for yourself the training that's going on and the important work that our executive director and her staff are doing on our behalf. I think that as policymakers, it always makes me a little uncomfortable when we make major policy decisions about things for which maybe we haven't fully embraced or engaged in from all perspectives. So each of us come to the table today and our service in the commission from a different background, but we are here together to work together to facilitate professional law enforcement criminal justice training for the executive professionals in our state, and also to make sure that we're holding our criminal justice professionals accountable for their behavior, actions, and conduct. So with that, please spend some time on campus, talk to staff, sit in classes, go talk to the recruits, go eat lunch at the cafeteria, which the executive director doesn't do, and really spend the time to see for yourself. I'm a small town chief, and so I am the type of person that likes to see it, touch it, taste it, and feel it. I know not everybody is that way, but I think with our role as commissioners, and especially with so many changes that have come in the last year, in the previous session and the current session of the legislature, I think we owe it to ourselves to take the time to really understand what's going on, and if we see something that needs to be changed, that's that part of the discussion that happens too. And again, not to heap more praise on our executive director, but she has been outstanding in listening and making adjustments and correcting things that need to be corrected, and having those difficult discussions with people, staff, or stakeholders when necessary, because she really cares to make sure we have the right outcomes. So take the time, please. And if you are on campus at a time when there is a graduation, you will be introduced as a commissioner at the graduation. You just have to stand up and wave. But it's a great opportunity to see the smiling faces of the young, mostly, not all, usually younger folks that are starting this profession and watching them and their excitement as they go out the door. So any of us that have ever taught or coached or mentored or raised children, you know that feeling that you see on their faces. And it's pretty neat to see. And I'm hoping still to see a wonderful editorial from our executive director about looking into the face of sacrifice when she talks to and recognizes the recruits as they grow out the door for the last time from the commission to start their careers. Commissioner Hohenberg is not apparently going to make it, but I do, on behalf of the commission, one, because of my role as a chair, but more importantly, as someone whom respects Commissioner Hohenberg's work and dedication to his community and his service in the state. I will be attending his retirement on Friday and presenting him with this very nice plaque from the commission, presented to Commissioner Ken Hohenberg, 2011 to 2022, with deep appreciation for your leadership to the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission, your service to criminal justice professionals and the peoples of Washington State. I had a chance to talk to Commissioner Hohenberg the other day. It's a very nice plaque. And he made a comment that, you know, there's a lot of great chiefs doing great work across the state. And I think Commissioner Hohenberg is one of those. He has been in law enforcement in his community for 43 years and 8 months. Some of that may be actually longer than some of us on this meeting, or some of those, certainly some of the people we work with on a regular basis, because I'm hiring people today that are younger than my youngest son. So it's something to be said that someone has dedicated their life and their profession, and his family too have dedicated their lives and profession to the service of his community in Kennewick. And he's moving on as he was elected as a port commissioner for the Port of Kennewick. So he'll be, even after retirement from the police department, he'll be continuing to serve his community as a port commissioner. And I was honored to find out, yes, he was very honored by his community, and I found out yesterday that the police station was actually now named in his honor. It's a Ken Hohenberg Public Safety Building. He did point out that he's not dead yet, so it's, you know, it's not a memorial public safety building, but I think that really speaks volumes for how Chief Hohenberg is recognized in his community. I know members of this commission have met Chief Hohenberg prior to their time on the commission and working with him on different use of force work groups and other things. So, I'm sorry that Vice Chair Quinn isn't here, but I know that he and Commissioner Hohenberg have a long relationship and mutual respect that is really what is necessary for us to, oh, there is my Vice Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Quinn, for joining us. We were just talking about Commissioner Hohenberg and his service to the over 11 years service to the commission, and his retirement with party on Friday, and his last day is actually Monday. So end of an era for the city of Kennewick. And those of us that have gotten to know him over the years and respect him for his measured work and his professionalism and just being a really great man. Vice Chair Quinn?
Yeah, no, I've been here for the whole presentation.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Chief Hohenberg and I have built a relationship over the years. I have a lot of respect. I guess I should have been tracking, because, you know, any excuse to drive to Kennewick and like surprise him would have been great. I'll see if I can still figure it out, just to embarrass him or illuminate the breadth of his connections. But I will say that anyone with a stellar career that still makes space to learn and listen, you have to give credit where credit's due. To challenge even their own perspectives is amazing. And the other reason why I would drive by and say hello is just to know that he's now about to step in shoes that I've been in elected office. So I might actually just show up to a port commission meeting and challenge him on the dais on a thing or two. But, you know,
just heckle. You can heckle him at a public meeting.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'll do. And But with all seriousness, like, you know, to be at the stage of his career and again, be open to new perspectives, to me is a great example of modeling the really kind of diverse environment that we are all inheriting, including changes of kind of conventional wisdom. So I don't want to take him up any other space, but it's been a pleasure to serve with him on the Criminal Justice Training Commission. It was actually a pleasure to joust with him on the first use of deadly force task force. I mean, we would go back and forth. I just really respected his preparation and then his evolution. He may call it something different, but I've been able to appreciate it.
Thank you. I believe Commissioner Raynon, I believe you also served on those early panels and have a similar experience, it sounds like.
Yeah, I just echo what Commissioner Quinn said. Very well said. Jousting on the task force and being able to work with him over the years since then. Great experience, and grateful for his service and opportunity that I've had to serve with him over the years as well. So I raise my hands to him for that service.
Thank you. And that will open the alternate chief position to the commission. And I have not had a discussion with the governor's office. I don't know if the director has heard anything from the governor's office as to appointment process and that. So we will see where that goes. And also then understanding that my term expires in June. So there will be 2 new chiefs sitting at the table. One is an alternate in this position. All right. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your thoughts. I really respect that. It's kind of sad when you see so many of the people that you work with retire, but it's also exciting to see them move on to the next stage of their lives. So, and I'm sure he's got stuff at home that his wife's been waiting for him to do for years anyway. So either way, it's all good. On a more serious note, the last part of my report is I hope the commissioners have had a chance to review in your packet. There's a letter that was submitted to the commission on December 8th from the Washington State Sheriff's Association. Just to clarify, there are 2 different associations that typically represent law enforcement professionals. The Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs is sheriffs and chiefs together. And then there is a separate group of just sheriffs, and this is a separate group of sheriffs. So this is not police chiefs and sheriffs under the association. This is just a sheriff's association. We outlined, and this letter was received the afternoon or the evening after our commission meeting the same day, where the director had addressed and had talked to this commission about the process of looking at curriculum, certifying curriculum, accreditation of the academy and different options, none of which is budgeted, but something that the staff indicated they were in the process of doing and reviewing and having more information for us. I did, on behalf of the commission, I did draft a response letter after discussion with the executive director and staff, and felt that sometimes saying less is better than saying more, and that this matter has already been addressed by the commission in regards to third-party review of BLEA training, and reiterating the fact that if there is to be such a review, that will be at the sole discretion of this body and the commissioners that make up this body, and including whom participates in that review or who's assigned to be representative of that review, and that the rest of the information in the letter really, frankly, was contrary to my experience with the executive director in the sense that she's very transparent, she's very open, very ethical, very direct, and very communicative in her role as executive director, and that we all have had, whether we're stakeholders or chiefs or sheriffs or community members or elected officials or public officials, have had that opportunity to have that interaction. And I believe that several of the insinuations, allegations, and references in the rest of the letter were either inaccurate or simply designed to be offensive. and I don't believe that it was in the commission's best interest to respond to those directly. So that was my response on behalf of the commission as the chair. If anyone, commissioners want to address it or discuss it further, I'm happy to do so either in the public meeting, or you're happy to, or welcome to call me. We did spend a considerable amount of time on this matter, and I believe that it's time to move forward. Are there any questions regarding that? Commissioner Raynon?
Yeah, I appreciate you responding to that, Chair Myers. I wondered if we could, share the positive things that CJTC, not necessarily, responding to the letter itself, but more generally putting information out there that shares what the CJTC has done, the positive things that's been done to be responsive to the legislation, to implement the new training, kind of an information sharing type of approach, in a positive manner, because we know there's good things have been done, right? And so when I saw that, I was thinking, maybe we just need to do more information sharing to get that stuff out there. So that was just a thought.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I did have a discussion with the Sheriff's Association and indicated that I didn't want to speak for Director Alexander, but we'd be happy to meet with the Sheriff's Association at any one of their meetings, present any information, answer any questions or issues or concerns, provide that information, Commissioner Raynon, that you were discussing, and also be realistic about the rollout and implementation of so many of the trainings and other statutorily required things that have been assigned to the commission, which don't necessarily always correspond. And again, I hate to be the, oh, we don't have any money, so it's an excuse. But in this case, as a state agency, if we don't have yet the funding assigned, and some of this monies don't even come until July, for example, it really seems disingenuous to criticize for something which is you literally cannot do. Or we've been in the grips, again, I hate to blame COVID, but we've been in the grips of a pandemic where it's been pretty difficult to provide some of this training directly to our staff. Every single agency in this state, I will speak for myself, our own agency, we have struggled with trying to get enough of our officers and staff together at the same time and not have a super spreader event where we end up with everybody out sick and can't staff. I know the jail, I know Commissioner Sapp in the county jail there has had the same issue. So we've been very sensitive in the manner in which we were able to roll out training, roll out all those things, and some of which I don't think the legislature, when they passed the statute, expected it to be done the next day. So I'm hoping that our stakeholders and our chiefs and sheriffs, although be frustrated at times and frustrated with the circumstances and the situations and the other issues, that it's not necessarily the Director Alexander's fault that's happening. So maybe we have to have some grace for each other. Any other discussion or concerns or anything the commission would like to address regarding the letter and the response? Commissioner Robinson.
Chair Myers. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Vice Chair Quinn.
I'll be super brief, but it's along the lines of Commissioner Raynon. One, Chair, I appreciate your approach of restraint. And there were a lot of things that could have been taken very personally in that letter. I talk often about responsibilities and being clear on information. And so, I think along those same lines as what Commissioner Raynon said is details can be important. And we all have rights and we all have responsibilities as well. And so being clear about what those responsibilities are, who holds those responsibilities, and the opportunity for us to address how we can be more aligned. And so, you know, I'm really looking forward to that conversation about how we can actually work together and make the types of decisions where everyone's clear around responsibilities. I don't think there should be any free passes when we all hold this responsibility for our communities. So being clear about the responsibilities, whether it be a jurisdiction, funding, their training, the state legislative pieces that maybe were unfunded mandates, but yet we hold the responsibility to implement them. And then not unlike a conversation that I had with a respected chief this last week, who suggested, hey, maybe we ought to put in our legislative list of items, being able to make sure that the CJTC is accurately funded to meet the challenges of COVID, to meet the challenges of kind of shortages of available spaces. And so to me, that is the path, right? Is to be solution oriented. So I just appreciate the nature in which we're taking the approach to this letter.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, all I was going to do was really, and Vice Chair Quinn, you spoke so much my mind, right? And that's really a lot where I was going to go, was just saying my appreciation for your approach in that letter and response. And one of the things I'm very mindful of is just because you throw a bunch of rocks doesn't mean we have to react to the things that are being thrown our way. I think it always speaks to responsibility. You know, what's our true responsibility and what is our responsibility, our ability to respond and our responsibility to do so. So I really appreciated your approach. Just wanted to echo my support for what Commissioner Reynon and Vice Chair Quinn also articulated without restating it.
Thank you, Commissioner Robinson. I do think it's important for us to have those discussions when we have those opportunities. And I think that's one of the things I was most excited about, to have our new commissioners on board, more representative of our communities across the state. Because we met yesterday with some representatives from ACLU and some coalition members, and really emphasize that if you have a goal, or you have a plan or an intent, and it's not funded, it's not really a goal, it's just an aspiration. And so we need to continue to have those discussions with our legislators to understand that we do take training seriously, we do take the accountability of criminal justice professionals seriously, but there is a factor of being able to do the work, and we need to make sure that is properly funded. And although it seems like this is a huge agency, the commission, especially in the sense of other state agencies, is tiny, almost budget dust tiny. So with all these new duties and responsibilities, and the nature and the importance of these duties and responsibilities, I think it's important that we have adequate facilities, adequate staff, and adequate time and energy to fulfill the mission that is upon us. All right. With that is all I have as a chair's report. I appreciate your patience as I went through several matters. Now move to the director's report. Director Alexander.
Thank you, Chair Myers. And I want to start by saying thank you all for your support, for the support of CJTC as a whole and as a training organization. We need it. I know we serve a lot of people. We have our stakeholders between our community members and our law enforcement partners and everybody that cares about CJTC. Sometimes it's a lot to juggle. So having Chair Myers step in and speak up, I greatly appreciate that. You know, it's hard to say that nothing in that letter felt personal. Some of it did feel personal, but we always have to go higher than that and remember what our mission is. And I feel like Chair Myers really hit that, and I appreciate it. I wanted to respond to, before I get into my report, I wanted to respond a little bit to Commissioner Reynon. Commissioner Reynon, we're doing some really fun things right now, and I can't wait to roll out our very first one. We're doing some video projects, and we have partnered with Seattle Police Department because they actually have an entire video unit. Megan Saunders, who does our communications work here, is working with Seattle Police Department's video unit. And our very first interview was what I had an opportunity to exchange conversation with Chief Hohenberg. And I didn't go there, he was there, I was here, and magic made it happen. And we were able to communicate back and forth. I can't wait to share that with you. It is still in the editing bay, where a lot of it will have to be cut out because we talked a very long time. But one of the reasons to interview him is we know he's leaving this profession, but he's leaving and taking a lot of wisdom with him, a lot of wisdom that we need to keep moving forward. We're going to interview community members. We have a lot of people on our list that we want to talk to. But the first one is the hardest one because we're feeling our way through it. I'm also working on the state of CJTC, which we will print and make it public so that people know where we are and some of our ideas and aspirations. So exactly what you're speaking about, I want to introduce the public to all of our new commissioners and reintroduce them to some of the commissioners that have been here for a while, and let them know what your role is and the work that you're doing, because your work is very, very important. The support that you're providing, the community interaction is important, because what people know, they don't always agree with, but they appreciate knowing. And I think that that's really, really important. And, you know, I want to talk to everyone because I do enjoy talking to people, but I know there's one of me, and there is a lot of community members out there that want to know more about what we do here. So we're working on a few ideas on communication. So thank you, Commissioner Raynon, for pointing that out. I do believe in communication. I'm just trying to figure out how do you communicate with so many people and try to get it out there all at once so it doesn't trickle out. So I'm taking ideas, and one of those ideas is to write a state of CJTC. We will write it, have it in print, but we will also record it and put it on our website. So people that don't want to read it, they can actually hear me speak about where we are, some of the vision ideas that we have here at CJTC, where we want to go, and most importantly, give people an avenue to communicate with us. I think that is important. We don't want this to be one way. And speaking about CALEA, Jarrell, Deputy Director Wills, has been working diligently with CALEA to see about getting accreditation for CJTC. We are very interested in our training being accredited, and we want it to be nationally recognized. And what we've found so far is Jarrell received this huge list of things that we want to look at. So we've already started digging through. That part is free. The whole thing isn't free, but ledge session's coming back around again. And so we know it's not free, and we're not afraid to ask for the things that we believe is going to make CJTC better, but we need time because we do need money, and we do have to work with the budget that we're given. I have to say that the legislature has been very good to CJTC this year in a supplemental budget, and I'll get to that in just a few minutes because I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we asked for and how they're moving through the process. So we are thinking really a lot, and we have a lot of visionaries here. And so I like to listen to everybody that works here because there are some great ideas floating through these buildings on how we can move CJTC forward. So thank you very much for your comments and your ideas. I'm always excited about that, and I'm only a phone call or email away. I know you're all very busy and have a lot of responsibilities, but I welcome your comments. So I want to first start off by talking about how many classes we have on campus. We have a total of 9 classes right now on campus, 1 corrections class and 8 BLEA classes. However, we are going to actually have a class graduate next week. So you have an opportunity. On March 2nd, we will have graduation here. It usually only lasts approximately 1 hour. It's really fun. It's fun to see the families. It's fun to have everybody here celebrating the 720 hours that they have missed their family. So all are welcome. Please feel free to stop by or come in. It's at 11 o'clock on March the 2nd. And you should be out of here no later than 12, but then socializing, so 12:15. How about that? So I wanted to get to our legislative report because I know we have a lot to talk about today. And today is the first day of class number 836. So they had their first day here. We're happy to have them. So for supplemental budget, like I said, we asked for quite a bit. I will give you a few of the highlights. If all goes well, we will get an additional 4.5 classes for 2022, an additional 8.5 classes in 2023. This would equal 19.5 Belia classes and 23 for this year, for 2022, and 23.5 classes in 2023. Now you ask about what that half is. Half of the year, the fiscal year, they pay for part of it and the other half. So it will be a whole class of 30 recruits. We also received additional funding for our Spokane Belia because the cost has gone up there. We haven't received it. I shouldn't say that. It's in the budget. So we just have to get it to the finish line. But I appreciate the fact that it's in the House and the Senate budget in a supplemental year. That is pretty exceptional, and we're very appreciative. So right now we're at a 4-month wait for law enforcement to get their people into Belia. If everything goes well and all of these classes go through, we would go down to a 30 to 45 day wait, which most chiefs and sheriffs that we've spoken to feel that's a reasonable time for them to onboard their people and then get them into the class so they're not sitting around counting paper clips while they're being paid. They want them to be busy, they want them to get working, and they want them to get out on the road. So we're doing our best we can. And I really appreciate that law enforcement, when they have talked to legislators, they have talked about the need for more additional Belia classes and funding. We also have what we call, we requested funding for a cognitive learning app, which gives small, what we call micro learning opportunities. That app, we teach the Belia classes how to use the app, and they have it on their phone while they're here. Once they go out into the field, though, that subscription is no longer there. So what we have asked the legislators for is that app to follow them. So every law enforcement person in the state would have access to immediate training. So when we build the training, we could push it out. That gives us a great platform. We asked for it last year. Somehow it fell out and we couldn't find it. We couldn't recover it. So it's now both in the House and the Senate budget. We're keeping our fingers crossed. That would be really, really helpful for us. And it helps our smaller agencies who really can't afford to always come to CJTC. Now we say, okay, but we've got training that we can do online. That is very true. But this app, I believe, would change the game. So we're hoping for that. And the last thing I want to talk to you about a little bit is the strategic plan that is now almost available. So I want to thank Deputy Director Wills and Ms. Renee Berry. They did a lot of heavy lifting to force all of us to review different, and Renee broke it down in very small bite sizes. Sometimes they felt like big bite sizes, but we went through all of the strategic plan together as an executive team. And within the next couple of weeks, we should be able to post the strategic plan. We still have some aesthetic work to do, and we also have some editing to do, but it is so close to being finished. And I'm very, very grateful for their work on this. As soon as it's ready and we're posted, we will send a link to all of our commissioners so you will have access to the strategic plan. Some of the things that I'm very happy about is in the very beginning of the strategic plan, it goes over a lot of the laws that have been recently passed. So you have a quick reference for that. So you can look at, it doesn't outline all of the laws. It tells you basically what they are and what the RCW is. So it's easy to access. So that kind of starts the report out, and then it goes through a lot of the training and things that we're doing here. So I'm pretty proud of it and excited about it. And I look forward to you reviewing it and bringing your questions and concerns and comments to me. So with that, I'm going to stop because I know, and I was going to tell you the exact number of students that we have on campus right now is 238. We also have one class going in Spokane. So I forgot that. That was in my notes. So I thank you all very much again for your support. I thank you, Chair Myers, for stepping up and stepping out and increasing my pay. You're right. I'm not in this for the money. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. But being around these recruits is refreshing every single day. They are very excited about this career. And I think we have an opportunity here, even though many agencies are low in numbers, we have an opportunity to do some very great things. And I'm excited about that. So thank you. And I will take any questions that you might have of me.
Any questions for the Executive Director? Commissioner Sapp.
Thank you, Monica, for the update. And I want to say I appreciate everything you're doing. I know it's very challenging right now, but you always do it with a positive attitude and a beautiful smile. So thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you if there's any news on adding more corrections academies.
Thank you. Thanks for asking. So we have a corrections academy in right now. We have another one coming in on March the 24th. And so we would love to add more corrections classes. And we have to really look at and talk, and that would probably be a great offline conversation. I'd like to know vacancy rates, because what I can do and will do is in this next session, I'm already making my list for what we want to ask for in 2023. One of the things that I have already started talking about is asking for a new facility. We are bursting at the seams. Our class that started today is actually starting over in the advanced training division area, because we have no more room in the building where I am, where all of our basic training classes are. I'm pretty proud of the corrections class that we have in right now. We just met with the president and vice president, and they have a lot of experience. They have life experience. Some of it's military. Another person is prior corrections and retired and realized that he was sitting at home watching too much TV and decided to come back to work. So he's here, he's from another state, but we've had some really great corrections classes coming through, but I'd like to talk about vacancy rates so we know exactly what we're asking for.
Well, I'd be happy to have that conversation with you. Currently, I have 4 officers in the COA right now. So you'll be seeing me next Friday because I'm gonna come visit them. But I have 14 openings as of today. So, and that's out of 95 staff. So I have a pretty high rate of openings, and I'm sure other jails do as well. And it's just getting them through the academy and getting them on the floor, right? So.
And with the 10-week academy, we've had good feedback on the 10-week correction academy, and I appreciate that. But I'd love to get a collective number like we have for law enforcement. It's easier to communicate with our legislators about what our needs are when we can talk specifically about vacancy rates.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
And that's the challenge for anybody that has a jail. We have, in fact, I have Officer Fernandez is in the academy class you mentioned that just started today. And of course, he's transferring out of our jail, which then creates a position open in our jail. And we, it's a constant training and hiring circle that goes on. Commissioner Thomas.
Yes, Ms. Alexander, I have one question. The app that you spoke about, I find fascinating. How do you think it will be able to be incorporated so officers can always have it? And what will that entail? Will it entail further financing, or how exactly could that be readily available to them at all times?
And thank you. Yes, what we're asking for is an ongoing cost. So it would be it's under $1 million, which it's one program manager and the subscription for every officer and corrections officer in the state of Washington to push that training out. So it's really, when you look at it overall, it's not that expensive. If you start talking about officers that have to come to CJTC or just do it online, micro-learning is a better way to learn, and it's scientifically proven. And so we could push out small portions of training so officers can take it wherever they are, if they're working in the middle of the night or if they're working early morning shifts, and get it right away. So we want it to be ongoing. We don't want this to be a one-time thing, because why give it to them just to take it away? And so this would be a funding, if it goes all the way through, that would be continuous.
Great question. Really great question. Because you're right. If Commissioner Thomas points out, it's you get something started, you get people used to it, it becomes a training platform that's effective, and then it stops, and then and that's not to say we wouldn't pivot in the future if it becomes ineffective, but any of us that have either people that work with us from the different generations, this app kind of feature is something that they're pretty comfortable with. So, and it does allow us to reach out instantaneously. I mean, you think about being able to push out training that's contemporaneous with particular issues of the day or situations or cases, that could go out, bam, with the push of a button. And that would be pretty effective, I think, in a lot of ways, especially as we go across the entire state.
And we always want to get better, and we want to make sure absolutely that we're state-of-the-art training. And that means we need a better facility, right? those of you that have been here, you know that this facility has been here for a very long time, and it continues to cost money to keep it running because it's not as efficient as it should be. We've had tons of HVAC problems. We've had lots of leaky roofs, and every time they come out to repair that, it's a big price tag on it. And so at some point we have to wonder how much money do we want to put into this particular facility? But you're right, we would pivot if in fact the C2 app is no longer, necessary, or if we're just throwing away money, we always look at that. But we want to be able to provide training as quickly as we can. And the pandemic showed us how quickly we have to try to get things out and how creative we have to be in order to get things. And we've learned a lot of good things from the pandemic, surprisingly enough. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Hunter.
Just a quick question. Who provides the training on the C2 app? Is it the CJTC training?
Yes, ma'am, it is. It is CJTC's training. We would create the training, and then the training would be pushed out through the app. I'm so glad you asked that. I had two other things I wanted to update you on really briefly, and that is some of the training that we have put out recently, which is the Holocaust for Humanity training, which all of Seattle Police Department has already had that training, but we think that it is absolutely great training. And we also put out about 2 weeks ago, training about fines and fees. And that all of those came in House Bill 1064 I-940, where there are requirements, and things got slowed down a little bit with the pandemic. But Alex Bias is doing a fantastic job. She is our program manager in that area, and she is working diligently. So the next training I think that she's working on currently, because we also is the LGBTQ plus community training that's in that bill. So trainings are starting to pump out a lot faster than they were because we were really slowed down by the pandemic, but we're getting there.
Great question. Any other questions regarding that? I would mention, I heard earlier in the executive director's report, for those of you that are on the east side of the state, I'm thinking about not calling anybody out by name like Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Kendricks, Commissioner Lowe. Where did you go? It sounds like I might have heard that there is an academy in Spokane that you could visit.
Yes, we do have a BLEA class going in Spokane.
Hint, hint. Commissioner Lowe.
Yeah, I've had the chance to visit that academy numerous times. I went through the Reserve Academy also for the police department as for the Spokane Police Department as a requirement of this job. My question though is, and it's 15 minutes from my house, so as soon as I get a badge, I can have a different uniform on as I go in. I'll be happy to do that. But my question
keyword badge.
My question was in regards to the app, and do we have access to that? Is that something that we can sign into and see the training and the quality of it that's going out?
So currently, what we can do is we can send you, Alex can send you the training right now, a link on how you can get into the training as a non-law enforcement person. The law enforcement training that we have currently is specifically for law enforcement, but there's a back door where you can actually view the training. So we can definitely send that out to our commissioners so you can take a look at the training. Now, the Holocaust for Humanity training is not one that it's a scheduled training. It's not one that and it's live, but obviously on Zoom. So it's not one that's recorded. The other training that Alex just put out about fines and fees is one that is a recorded training. So you can we can send you that and you can take a look at that training. And that one is done by Dr. Alexis Harris, who is a professor, a tenured professor at the University of Washington. She has been a partner of CJTC for a while. And I will say, in the interest of true transparency, we have gotten some negative feedback from the training because some of our law enforcement partners feel like we're kind of blaming them. And I don't believe that was the intent of the training. It was more education on how a traffic ticket can turn into a felony warrant over time. And we want officers to understand that. We think it's important for us to know the entire process of what happens, because if you don't get a ticket and you forget about it, or you move and you don't get notification, and you just don't, you don't, it turns into a felony warrant. And now you pull over someone with a felony warrant, you do a felony stop, which is completely different than a normal traffic stop. It's offensive to our community members. They don't know what's going on. So it's more about just educating these things happen and how we can respond to them and how we can be better partners to our communities. And so we have gotten some feedback on it, and we're hoping that we're working through that and helping officers understand this is not the blame game we're playing. This is more about just education.
And the C2 app has not yet been funded, but that I would assume that if it was available, that the commissioners would have the ability to receive that training in the same manner, or those who wish to receive the training in the same manner as anybody else, as the officers and corrections officers. That's a question for the director.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that was a statement.
No, I'm asking, I'm assuming we could probably have a mechanism if you want to receive that, you would get it on the app.
Yeah, so each
As
one
a-
subscription. So we would have so many subscriptions that we could hand out. So so like right now, we are low on officers, but we're asking for the full complement. We could probably share those apps with the commissioners so that they could look at the training the exact same way that the officers do.
Awesome. Commissioner Couch.
Since the director brought it up, I wanted to ask on the advanced training that we've received some negative feedback on. What was who designed the curriculum for that? What was the collaborative effort among law enforcement, non-law enforcement groups to design that training?
So Dr. Alexis Harris designed the training, and she is the tenured professor that I mentioned just a little bit ago. So there wasn't a collaborative. We at CJTC met with Dr. Harris. We looked at the bill, House Bill 1064. We told her what we needed based on the information in the bill, and she created the training. Then we went through the training. We set in the training. She took some of our feedback and made some changes and some adjustments, and then we went forward with it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Drivers Crack. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did. Perfect. I just wanted to say that I'm so happy to hear that this training is provided by CJTC instead of, I think right now there's a lot of agencies that rely on this sort of cheap cookie cutter training that's provided by Police One and various
Vendors.
Yeah, and I think that I'm really excited to hear that this is provided by the commission, and that it provides another option for local agencies that are sort of strapped for cash. So I just wanted to voice that I'm all for it. I'm really excited about it. And it's a great. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it.
Thank you. And I wanted to go back just for a second with Commissioner Couch. We've gotten that question also as the type of collaboration that we did with other law enforcement on building training. So, it's a great question, and it's also a great suggestion that I've received. And I don't have any opposition to bringing in, a few people. But as we're building these trainings, we're trying to do it as quickly as we can because we recognize that we're behind in putting some of these trainings out. So getting the availability, making sure that we have someone that can review the training and then, collaborate with us on it, sometimes can be difficult, but we're willing to try that and get some feedback, or even maybe do it and then have a beta group that takes a look at it and gives us some feedback before we put it out. That's another step. So that could hold the training back for a little bit, but I'm not opposed to it. So thank you.
Yeah, I just think it's important because as we talked about, the accreditation process and making sure that we're putting out a good product, what is just making sure we have a process to vet people who are developing training for us, which I think speaks to our credibility. So just ensuring that there is a process and, that we're putting a good product out.
Yeah, and Dr. Harris, as I said, is a tenured professor at UW. So we did vet that, her ability to create training. Someone said that they felt like we were kind of directing the training more towards a college classroom. than 2 police officers. So we've taken that feedback. Deputy Director Wills just chimed in, sorry, and advised me that we did have law enforcement officials take a look at the training, and they did take some feedback from them. So there is that, but we can definitely talk to some of our law enforcement professionals that are our commissioners as well. So
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify, I mean, I've forwarded some of the feedback I've received from law enforcement officers and agencies that have completed the training. And it's not that they are opposed to it or the premises being discussed. I think it just may have come out in such a way that officers don't understand the context of why it was directed to them at that time. And that's why one of my sergeants had taken the class, and he said it felt like an academic discussion you'd have in a college class, as opposed to what our officers are used to, which is usually more job-based, skill-based. So we're requiring officers and our professionals to expand their mind, expand their experience, expand their understanding of the world around them. We just have to make sure that, like with anything, and I've talked to executive directors, we want to make sure the context is such that the listener is listening. Otherwise, we have gained nothing. And so that's that nuance of just making sure when we roll out training, I think perhaps that's what Commissioner Couch is saying is, making sure that it's understood of what this is and why it is and what it's about. That helps.
And I appreciate that. And I do know that Alex sent something out letting everyone know that this was the training that was required by law. And one of the things, and not necessarily this person, but the spirit of the training. And so one of the things that we are trying our best to do is be very intentional about respecting what the law asks us to do. And we're trying to do that in a very genuine fashion, because we, like you said, we're asking our law enforcement officers to kind of expand and think broader about how what we do impacts our communities all the way around. So, but I absolutely appreciate the feedback. It helps us to grow.
Vice Chair Quinn.
Yeah, I really appreciate this discussion. And I'll just continue on my theme around responsibilities. And so there's an opportunity actually to maybe share this with some of the institutions. So I'm thinking about the Sound Cities Association and other municipalities, because the reality is the fines and fees also reside in the municipalities and elected officials. And so in some ways, at least I've heard it from my chief, is that we pass laws and law enforcement implements it. And it's really great to get the connection between fines and fees as we kind of talk about maybe root causes of some challenges in the past. And I'll be the first one to say that I was young and I got a speeding ticket, and my my protest was not to pay it. And which led to, and it's like, you know what, that wasn't right for them to pull me over in the first place. And so I ain't gonna pay it. Now that, this is a 17-year-old. And now, knowing the implications of that, the fines and fees, I think, is a great discussion to have. And there's an opportunity to also engage at the elected officials level, because the fiduciary responsibility, one of the core responsibilities of being a municipal elected, is fines and fees. And so having that connection between law enforcement and the municipalities, they'll know the impacts. So if it was me, maybe law enforcement say, hey, this also needs to be shared with the elected officials who pass the fines and fees and know the implications of those things, because then we are asked to go out and implement those things. So I think it's, we're all getting more educated about decisions and processes and systems. Mm-hmm. And I really love the fact that this training does occur. And I also think it's an opportunity to bridge the gap between law enforcement and elected officials as well.
And
well said.
One of the things that Chair Myers, Sergeant, said was exactly what you just said, basically. You know, this is not, doesn't just fall on law enforcement. I agree, but our responsibility, you know, it's not I can't go and start telling council members how they should run their communities. We're just supposed to train law enforcement. And so I agree, we would be happy to share whatever we have. Dr. Harris has a whole book written on fines and fees. So I absolutely agree that there are more people that are involved in this than just law enforcement.
Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you. I just had a comment kind of to piggyback on that is I think that community should be involved in some of the review of this vendor training, because I'll use the fines and fees as an example. If community could be represented and share with both legislative and CJTC and everyone involved, if they could, share what the impacts are on them or their lack of understanding. Like he said, oh, I just decided I would protest and not pay the ticket. I don't believe that always community or even me personally understand the ramifications of something. So I think community's voice needs to be in these discussions as far as as far as our vendor training goes. They need to have a seat at the table and have input to that vendor training.
And just to be clear, this wasn't necessarily vendor training in the sense of what we were talking about before, which is an outside provider. This was developed by the commission under contract with a curriculum developer. So I understand exactly what you're saying. I think that's perhaps where some of the message was lost, was exactly what Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Quinn were saying, is that officers are like, well, wait a minute, we just enforce a law that is passed by the city councils, the county commissioners, the state legislators. And so that's that context piece that I think, like I said, my officers have been through it, didn't really object to it. They just kind of were scratching their heads a little bit because maybe there need to be more people at the table having this discussion. Commissioner Robinson.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief. I just agree with especially not only your last comment, Chair Myers, but Commissioner Thomas's comment as well. And that was actually speaking my mind too, is the thing that I just kind of sat here and just kind of let it roll around for a minute as I was listening to the discussion. And I think what's standing out for me in this, again, is that need for, and really it's a need. And I think there's a demand for additional input, right? At least additional eyes on it. And I know that adds another level of complexity with minimal resources and minimal funding and the whole shebang, yet it should not understate the need nevertheless. So just re-emphasizing that. And then I really also appreciated that some of the challenge that Director Alexander and the CJTC is facing with meeting these requirements, kind of being, behind the 8 ball and trying to get this stuff done, is that, that some of the challenge, as you are so well articulated, sir, and I just want to expand on that just for a second, just skosh, is the pushback that inherently comes with the way that our law enforcement human family is coming into engagement in this industry. And I think it's a necessary challenge. It should challenge some of that propensity to kind of stay in a narrowed track of this is the way that we do this business, right? Because that's been part of the historical problem, is that this is the way we do this business. That's what got us here, right? And so that is fundamentally some of the stuff that needs to be challenged. And I thank you for articulating it, and then I'll stop there.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I recognize that we've talked about, the director and I've talked about, because that is true. Because when you want to expand people's mind and let people, encourage people to learn, you also still can't, you also don't want to turn them off where they don't listen, because then you haven't accomplished anything. That's that piece I think we're going to continue to work on, struggle with. Some of these discussions are uncomfortable, and they're discussions we have to have. And I think we're going to do our best to do that and make adjustments accordingly. Commissioner Satterberg.
I just wanted to say that what they're experiencing here is the dissonance between a discussion about policy and what they expected, which is discussion about how to give effect to a policy that they didn't write. And that they, for a long time, I think the training was your job is to go enforce the law and not question about whether it's what its impact is on people. But the truth is that the officer on the street has as much discretion as anybody else in the system, probably more even than the prosecutor when I get the case. So if they have to understand that maybe giving somebody a warning, it will keep them from spiraling in a downhill spiral that Commissioner Quinn talked about, when your license gets suspended and you don't know it, and then pretty soon you're committing crimes every time you drive. So I think we have to talk about not just whether this policy is smart or not, but we have to let people understand that they have discretion as a commissioned law enforcement officer and how to best exercise that. And I'm sure that each of the departments would like to tell them how to do that, but they need to hear from their trainers that they have it, and using it can give somebody a significant benefit that might end up winning fans in the community.
And there's always a balance act too, though, to be able to, that we're doing our job and we're effective, because my experience, especially in a small town, is you can be very well liked, but the community won't find that you're effective or have any credibility. So it's kind of it's a really tough one. And I think as we continue to expand these horizons, it's important, because every law enforcement agency and every law enforcement officer is not the same. Believe it or not, I was a person before I became a police officer, and I do put my pants on one leg at a time like everybody else. And people are flawed, they make mistakes, but they also have great opportunities to make a huge improvement and change in somebody's lives. And I've been doing this a long time, and I've had people flag me down that said, I don't know if you remember me, but you arrested me for DUI. And I think, oh boy, here it comes. And they said, that event changed my life forever. And I don't even remember it, because, after almost 34 years, you don't remember every contact or stop you ever made, but it is a huge impact to the person whom you have interaction with. And it doesn't always mean that you just, pat somebody on the head and say, hey, let's not do that again. And that's that expanding minds that we have to continue to do. And just to be clear, this training is like 2 hours. So it's not by any means a extensive college level, multiple class, read a book type of a class. It's kind of almost a hit and run presentation opportunity to share. And I think that's where that C2 app would be nice too, to be able to get that out and be a little easier to access. Right now we can access it. We get an email from the state. You have to click on the website. You have to go in. You have to, it's very doable. But Director?
So here's the good news. So this is the kind of amazing staff that we have. Rebecca Weinier is one of our employees, and she just sent me a message saying that she's listening to the commission meeting and she could set up a Commissioner Eyes Only 360 site where you could actually go in and look at the trainings and add comments and input for review. So just like that, something I didn't know we could do, we can do. And Rebecca is willing to set that up. She is absolutely amazing. Set that up so that we can send it out to our commissioners. How that's done, I don't know, but Rebecca knows. So Rebecca will send that up and you can all take a look at the training, not the live training, obviously, but I'd also like to know, just briefly, because I know we have a lot to talk about still, how many of you would be interested in attending the Holocaust for Humanity training if we could set that up for commissioners only? If enough of you are willing to do it, I am sure they would be willing to set that up. It's amazing training, and we all went through it before it was pushed out. So
why would we want to do it for commissioners only? Wouldn't it be better for the commissioners to participate with everybody as the officers?
You can do that as well.
I don't think it needs to be special. Yeah, I think I would encourage us to participate with. Sorry, Director, I cut you off.
That's okay. I was just saying that's on our website, and you're welcome to attend one of the courses that are on our website. But if you wanted to do it as a group, we could set that up as well. So however you want to do it is totally fine with me. Just wanting to make sure that we do it when it's convenient, because otherwise you have to jump on the website. And if you're working and can't do it at that time, like the other law enforcement officers are doing it during work time, then we would set up something to accommodate the time that you could do it. So that was my point in doing it that way.
Yeah, no problem. I think it may be hard to get all the commissioners at one meeting anyway. So they will have multiple opportunities. If we could have staff send out that roster or the schedule, and then if that doesn't work and we want to do it as a group and have The hard part of doing it as a group is I don't want to have it turn into, especially if we're doing the 360 thing, we need to check and make sure we're not accidentally creating a open public meeting.
Oh.
Because we're all participating, sharing and talking at the same time, which I think would probably make it a public meeting, but I'll defer to our AG on that. So it might be better to attend, but
Okay.
what it does show to me is we have an outstanding executive director with outstanding staff, and it starts at the top. So thank you for problem solving. Did anybody else have anything on this particular topic, which turned into be a very good, robust discussion?
Thank you all for
All
your
right.
feedback. I absolutely appreciate it. And I took some notes, and we'll make some adjustments happily.
Awesome. All right, next up under new business are the meeting minutes for December 2021. If there's a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Mr. Chair.
All right, I heard a motion from Commissioner Sapp and a second from Commissioner Satterberg, and who was the other second? Commissioner Kendricks, thank you. Is there any discussion regarding the minutes from the meeting of December 8th, 2021? Thank you to, I assume that Lacey did the meeting minutes? Lacey, yes?
Ethan did the minutes.
Oh, very well done. Thank you. It's very difficult to capture the nuances of what was discussed, and I know it's challenging for staff. So please make sure that whenever these come out, you take a look at to make sure that you feel you were quoted accurately, because that's the purpose of the minutes. It's not a verbatim transcript, although we do have transcripts as this is being recorded, but more importantly for your thoughts and opinions and directions to be referenced accurately in summary. All right. Is there any objection to the passage of the meeting minutes? Check the screen. All right, hearing no objection, the meeting minutes will be passed as proposed. Next is a variance request. This is a variance request from the city of Newport regarding a officer variance request for the Basic Law Enforcement Academy. Do we have Valerie, were you going to present?
Yes, sir. This was sent out as part of the packet to the commissioners for. I reviewed the packets, and also the sheriff and Mr. Roberts are both available for questions. Mr. Roberts attended and graduated the Oklahoma General course in October of 2000. He also received an advanced law enforcement certification in September of 2012. That, and combined with other training at that time from the Lawton Police Department, he totaled over 1,800 hours of training. He was then employed with Lawton Police Department for 13 years when he transferred to California. He went through their equivalency academy with extensive training there, 664 hours. And due to family obligations, he was only employed with the San Joaquin Sheriff's Department for about a month before he resigned due to family obligations. And then he was hired on, he was hired on at San Joaquin as an investigator for background checks, and he supervised and trained other investigators at that time. The city of Newport is requesting a variance to go through the equivalency academy rather than the full law enforcement academy based on the training and his professional career. The chief is available if there's any questions.
So just to be clear, the reason for the request for the variance is because he's been out of active, what we consider law enforcement, for more than 5 years. What's the gap?
And he was last employed as a law enforcement officer in August of 2020.
As an investigator, but not as a background investigator, but he was last employed as an officer in my reading of this by Modesto in 2000.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's correct. I apologize.
All right.
Was that?
Commissioner Robinson?
Yes, sir. What year was that? It got kind of convoluted as an officer.
So the last time he was a uniformed officer would have been 2013. And that's the reason for the variance request is it's been more than 5 years. It's been 9 years, I guess.
Yes, I
right,
believe
Chief.
that it's because he was a background investigator. Well, he wasn't a commissioned officer.
All right, Chief Duxbury, did I get that correct? Would you like to address the commission regarding your request?
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Hope there's not too much of a lag time. I'm working off a cellular right now. So yes, Mr. Roberts.
No problem.
Mr. Roberts was last fully commissioned or sworn, as California referred to it, in 2013. However, he then went to work for the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office as a background investigator, some of which the deputies were sworn. However, he was hired as a civilian background investigator. Due to his experience as a former detective and eventually detective sergeant with Lawton, Oklahoma, he was promoted to supervisor of the background investigations unit for the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office. And he did supervise other sworn officers who had temporary assignments in that unit. But like we said in the application, he was not fully commissioned.
All right, thank you for addressing the commission. Is there a motion regarding the variance?
Chair Meyer.
Commissioner Raynon?
So I have a question. Do we have any guidance anywhere regarding factors to consider when approving a variance? I've only been on here a short time, and I don't recall. I think we've had variance requests before, but I can't remember what the considerations were or what our limitations are in being able to grant a variance. So can somebody remind us of that?
Sure. So there is no particular regulation, and we could grant a variance for anything. We could say tomorrow that you don't have to attend the academy, for example. But the practice of the commission, and I know staff warns agencies when they apply. My preference as a chair is that we typically are very, very restrictive on variances because this is well over 5 years and would require by statute the person to reattend the academy unless we provide a variance based on their overall training experience and other factors that would mitigate the fact that we are now providing a license as a peace officer based on training that is currently outside of the statutory requirements. So does that answer your question, Commissioner Raynon, or Commissioner Kelsey? I thought you had your hand up. You don't have.
Yeah, I was actually going to comment on the same thing. We used to have, I think there was an Excel spreadsheet that we utilized for a while. The variances over the years have been very varied. There's lots of factors. We've always wished for a clean cut, but as it's brought up before, the only reason why we're getting them is because they're not clean cut. Every single one of them is done on an independent basis. On this one, I was trying to find, and I apologize, I can't find this particular variant, so I can't look at the particulars other than what I was seeing on the screen. So somehow I missed out on it.
Yeah, I think the training is out of state. And that's the other concern that we often have is that the training is appropriate to what we're asking for and requiring of our officers that they would be receiving. And the reason that, and thank you for clarifying, Commissioner Kelsey, the reason that we are seeing these is if the officer transitioning from out of state met the qualifications to go to equivalency, we wouldn't hear this at all. Staff would just take care of it. The reason this is here is because it's outside of the statutory ability for staff to allow this to happen. And that's why we're here. So do not take the fact that we don't hear many of these to indicate that this is a frequent thing. And that's why I think I would urge our new commissioners to look carefully at these requests. Because regardless of the fact that the officer may today be working for Chief Duxbury at Newport PD, once he or she is certified as a peace officer, that license goes with them anywhere. Commissioner Thomas.
I appreciated getting the application, but my question would be, is there any disciplinary that has taken place against this individual? And would we be privy to that information before we made a decision?
Probably not. We on our basis of the variance request is as to the statutory requirement that the officer attend Basic Law Enforcement Academy in a certain period of time. So that would be something which you asked Commissioner Thomas, that would be done by the agency during the background check. And then of course the commission would have oversight if the background wasn't done properly, or if there's some other issue that arises through the decertification process.
Thank you.
Valerie, do you have something else?
Thank you for clarifying
Thank
that.
you. Yes, ma'am. Good question.
Yes, really quickly, I would like to thank the commissioners for reminding me about the variance log. I have stepped into this position about 1.5 years ago, and that was something I was unaware of, but I will get that updated so that it's available on the next variance request.
Thank you. Commissioner Pickup?
Yes, I think that for me to properly make a decision in this matter, I would like to have some type of a background information, you know, because I would be very fearful of voting yes on this if someone, I don't know their training. You know, we do know that we are trying to, you know, change police culture in a way, and there has been training that has led to unnecessary deaths, and you know, and I don't know that person's training. I know that in our state we are working to really focus on sanctity of life for all, and so you know, allowing someone from another state to come in and not have our training does not feel comfortable for me to vote yes on that, especially not knowing if they've had excessive force complaints or unnecessary force complaints, things of that nature. So I think I would need more information to properly make a decision on this matter. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Commissioner Pickup, good points. I think that just to be clear, the variance request is based just solely on the request to waive the training requirement. And so we do not evaluate the person's suitability as far as their background or those other issues, as long as they comply with the Peace Officer Certification Act upon application. But the reason this variance is before us is because this request does not comply with the Peace Officer Certification Act, because the training arguably is out of statute and out of date. Commissioner Vice Chair Quinn.
Yeah, hopefully I could share my experiences. So one, the previous commissioner kind of talked about considerations. And in this process, those are the kind of considerations that you need to make in thinking about granting a variance. There is this role and responsibility of us that we have to kind of focus on what's before us. And so that and more is, at least for me, if we had the variance request, and Valerie, I understand kind of inheriting and then kind of not having the practices, and also we were very comfortable with having the variance to read, but thinking about the roles and responsibilities that we're asked to do, and then things that we can't necessarily impact. For me, the break is significant for all those things that were said before, is the quality of training, the update of training. And so where I'm at is, you know, I wouldn't be in support of this variance because of the length of time between the break between training.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Couch. or Vice Chair, I should say, Commissioner Couch.
I just want to point out, I know our agency has had, brought forward a successful variance in the past. I think there's substantial training that's outlined here. And I think it's also important to remember that, the request is so this person can attend the equivalency where they would still receive training. They would get a, legal update on, the differences in Washington state law. I went through the equivalency myself as after going through the federal academy. I would speak in favor of the variance because I think, just looking at the scope of what we can look at is, the training. There's a lot of training outlined here. There wasn't there was a break in the commission time that the person was serving, but there was still work being done in a law enforcement capacity. I think I would maybe have some reservations if the variance process didn't include them going to equivalency, but after, being a product of the equivalency process, I have, a lot of faith in that training in the program that we have there and the staff teaching that. And I also have faith that the chief has done, the process of the background and that process. So I don't have concerns there. So I'm speaking in favor of the variance.
Commissioner Johnson.
I guess what I would want to know is if the training he received in Oklahoma, was it comparable to what we train on here? Is there something, even though it's been a chunk of time, is there something that the course that, not the whole extended course would provide, like, to get him up to speed with our current laws and things that we do here? Is it comparable what he received there to what we do here? Those are the things I would want to know so that I could actually make an informed decision as to whether he needs to go through the full training or whether or not to grant this
variance. And that's the issue is, I know we're focused on what the training and the background, but I guess speaking in my experience, it's the break in service. If a Washington state law enforcement officer was out of the job for more than 5 years and they wanted to get back in the job, we would be, they would have to go to the academy, theoretically. Commissioner Robinson.
Can I rebuttal that just really quickly? And I guess so here, because I've been on for a short amount of time, have we granted variances for law enforcement officers in Washington state similar to this who've been out and then and have we done that before? And what did that look like? Or did we make them go through the whole entire training all over again? That's what I would want to know.
I think it's case by case basis. We have issued some variances. I will, in full disclosure, say that as the chair, I have discouraged them because I think it's a bad precedent because it does not honor the training and the depth of training and the consistency and continuity of training that we expect of our Washington state law enforcement officers. I respect Commissioner Couch's shared experience, but he did complete a federal academy, which we recognize, and he did not have a break of service that was so extensive. So it's not quite apples to apples, oranges to oranges. Valerie, do you have something else?
Sir, as you're pivoting to Valerie, and Valerie, please excuse me. I just want to make sure that, for me, from my understanding, maybe for the group, what is the difference when we're talking about the hours of training in variance versus full academy, which I believe is what the issue is here on the table is, or is at least part of the main issue. So do we have just a general idea of the difference between those two?
Yeah, equivalency is 2 weeks. Full academy is 20 weeks. And again, it has to do with the break of service is what really, if I was to sum this issue down to what I see the foundational discussion is the break in service. That's what we are outside of the statute today about, because if this wasn't a break in service and this was a applicant that had this training from the state with all this experience and was less than the break-in service of 5 years, he or she would have been automatically forwarded to the 2-week equivalency academy, and we wouldn't be having this discussion. Commissioner Couch?
I just wanted to confirm with Valerie that that is in fact true, that the training is from a state that we recognize or is on the spreadsheet. So so we are just only addressing the break-in service.
Yes, sir. We're looking at the break-in service. And I also just wanted to reiterate kind of the background process. He's asking for a variance to attend the academy. I'm not sure if he's actually employed at this time. I'm sure the chief could let you know. And before he is allowed into the equivalency academy or into the basic academy, they have to follow the RCW 43-101-095 that does all the requirements for the background. And part of that is to check on any disciplinary or if they were under review. So that process will happen and will be verified at the time of application. So this is only about really the break-in service. The rest of your questions about the background would be part of our normal everyday process to make sure that he has met the standards of the new requirements for the background.
And I'd like to come back to that in a moment. Commissioner Bendixson?
So within our agency, we actually have a very comparable situation, which may or may not be beneficial here. We have an employee who's been with us for more than a decade, and he's been employed that entire time. However, the past 5 years plus, he's been deployed. So he has not completed any agency training in that time. As we evaluated his training transcripts, as well as considering all of the training differences that have occurred over the past 5 years, he will be attending our basic academy class. However, there are portions in which he may be able to test out of. Due to the fact that he's been in the military, we might be able to put him through just a firearms qualification. However, he will be attending legal and the variety of other courses that we provide in our basic academy.
So what I'm hearing you say is he's not doing the equivalency, he's basically doing the academy again, even though he was deployed through no fault of his own. The state patrol feels it's important.
Absolutely. And when we have a break-in service, we actually do an individualized training plan. So we haven't traditionally used the equivalency academy. We do it in-house specific to WSP.
Awesome. Thank you for the clarification. I had a question, Chief Duxbury, is he actually an employee or is he someone who has a conditional offer, or what brings us to this point today?
Chairman, we have not given him a conditional job offer yet. We were wanting to get approval from the commission prior to moving forward and wasting any more of his time or the department's time. I would not have brought this forward to the commission if it were not for his prior extensive law enforcement experience.
Absolutely, understand.
In his 13 years, he was very active and promoted quite frequently, held several special assignments, was a detective, was promoted to sergeant, and then eventually promoted to detective sergeant. When he moved to California, which some agencies do, if he would have been a commissioned officer working as the background investigator and then the background investigating supervisor, we would not have to apply for the variance. But because that agency, and it's a cost-effective thing, not having them as sworn officers as far as the additional training, they chose to have it a non-commissioned position, even though very extensive investigative skills. They're investigating future police officers for the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office. So
I would say that, oh, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, plus he also had an experience as an internal affairs investigator. We did an initial reference check and background check. I myself am from that region. I too attended the equivalency academy when I was hired here as the chief of police. And the focus of that equivalency academy, as you know, but I'm not sure if some of the commission members understand that it highlights the differences, Washington state law as opposed to surrounding states, especially on domestic violence and now especially use of force and detentions.
Yeah, and I apologize that this matter is before the commission because I've made it very clear in the past that they have to be either an employee or have to have a conditional offer for the commission to spend the time to consider these matters, because otherwise we would be inundated with the what if kind of scenarios that we're faced with today. Commissioner Kelsey. Again, the chair may take the prerogative just to discontinue this consideration because of the circumstances, but I think we've had such a robust discussion. I hate to do that now, but theoretically, this should not have been on the agenda. Commissioner Kelsey?
Thank you, and I'm gonna agree with you on that one. Again, more for what we were always trying to do, and back to Valerie with the spreadsheet, not to put too much pressure on you, but what it helped us do was have consistency. So many of these, you might feel really moved to try to say, hey, this particular person really deserves to have this, or this agency is so small, they need to have this person because it costs. And what we've always tried to do is separate that out. Our duty as the commission is purely just to look at what is the training that they've received. Do we recognize that as CJTC as comparable training? And can we then move forward? And what would benefit that particular person is to have the 5 months or have the 2 weeks. I think in this particular case, I agree with you. I was going to suggest before you said that we even tabled this until the following one. And so that way all the commissioners, while we've had great discussion, can see the variance and can see some of our history and then have a more informed decision about what they're actually voting on. But in this particular case, like you said, if he hasn't already been offered, I think it's a moot issue.
Is that a motion?
I would make a motion well, actually, I don't know if it requires a motion in this particular case, because I think what we've done in the past is that we just don't make an action on it at all.
Under what procedure, guideline, or law are we doing that?
So if there is not a motion to approve the variance, then the variance is moot. It dies.
No, I was asking,
completely-
what gives you the authority to not hear the variance, or that because you were alluding to the idea that we could just not take action. So
It's because he's not an employee and he is not someone who's been given a conditional offer. So if the commission wants to spend the time to review every agency that proffers forth someone who they think might be eligible for variance, these meetings are going to be really, really long. So I have made this. Yes, a long time ago,
I think we can probably have this discussion at another time.
Well, I was trying to answer your question, and the answer is we made the decision some time ago that these things, if we're going to have a variance, the person needs to be an employee or someone who's potentially an employee. We don't want to rule in hypotheticals.
And I asked if that was in some type of policy, procedure, or standing rule of the commission, and I'm guessing it's not.
Nope. That's been our longstanding practice.
Well, there's many of us in this meeting that are very new, and it would be nice if we could be caught up to speed on what the norms are, or what has been done in the past.
Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Kelsey, you still your hand up? Did you want to come back? Okay, Commissioner Robinson.
So I'm making a motion that when it comes to variances, requests for variances, that there be a standing offer of employment, or along the lines of your descriptor of either an intent to employ, there's been an offer of employment, or they have been employed, before we actually move through the process of actually sussing out whether or not to grant a variance.
Thank you. There's a motion made. Is there a second?
I second.
Commissioner Thomas seconded. Commissioner Logue, did you have something?
I got all these buttons here. I guess for me, longstanding practice isn't good enough if we're going to change what the law says. And to me, in this time where policing is facing lots of scrutiny, I'd just like to point out that standards are not goals. Standards are standards. We meet them or we don't. And I would be very uncomfortable without very clear guidance in lowering a standard for law enforcement. That's just my opinion.
And to be clear, the standing that I'm talking about is that we don't consider these things as is there a second for, yeah, there was a second. We don't consider these variance requests unless there's a standing for the person to issue the request. So just to be clear, for Commissioner Couch's concern, and again, as far as the standard goes, if you are outside of the law enforcement service for more than 5 years, you are out of compliance. Vice Chair Quinn.
I was just trying to get your attention. This is a fantastic conversation, and it's part of our kind of growth. I remember being in the same position and kind of leaning on existing commissioners to help me through because I was conflicted with those things. But I think what Commissioner Logue said, if I'm pronouncing it right, is the whole purpose of we have been given this tremendous responsibility. The moment we start lowering the standards and the things that go with the importance of training and the evolution of training, the break, as I said before, was my challenge. Now it might be a moot point, but I think about that and these other requests for alternative training. Like we've really built kind of, and I would say with community input, the type of training that will get closer to being responsive. And so, as Commissioner Logue said, lowering that threshold is problematic. And that is why I was prepared, although we don't have to. And I also appreciate Commissioner Kelsey because we've been in the same meetings and considerations, and it does depend on what's before us. But I think the ultimate is understanding the role, understanding the rigor that we have as expectation for law enforcement, and the role that we've been tasked to do. It's not fun. And for the most part, we try not to make it emotional and have it be kind of data informed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Couch.
I just wanted to make one last comment. I would like to go on the record again and ask that we develop guidelines and operating procedures so we can function as a more professional commission and not just the reasoning be that we've always done things this way and that we not make up rules as we go along. I think it'd be helpful, especially since we have so many of us new commissioners, to be able to look at a document with guidelines, operating procedures, with the laws, and so we can have a clear picture when we're addressing matters like this.
Well, I will respond to that briefly. First of all, I take exception to the fact that we're making up rules as we go. This body makes up the decisions that it makes up in the body in the manner in which it is. As a chair, it's my obligation to keep these meetings moving forward and conduct the business of this commission on a timely and respectful manner. Into that regard, the previous commission, which I know a lot of members were not part of, had made a decision that we would not receive or account for these requests because of the time and the nature in which it takes to go through them as we are having this discussion, unless a person is either employee or at least a conditional offer of employee. So as I rotate off the commission, if the future commission wishes to receive every single variance potential request of anybody in any agency across the state of Washington, that is completely your decision. Before us is a motion to not receive a variance request unless the person is either an employee or is a has had a conditional offer of employment from Commissioner Robinson. It was seconded by Commissioner Thomas, I believe. Vice Chair Quinn, did you have something else regarding discussion on the motion before us? Commissioner Robinson.
Yes, sir, I would call for the question.
Been called for the question. This is a motion that was made to not consider any variance requests unless the person is either an employee or has a conditional offer of employment regarding the agency, which is proffering the request forward. Having no further discussion, called to the question. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Boy, this is tough. Okay, will everybody
Forgive
chime
me,
in?
forgive me, Chair, if I may, can we do a roll call vote?
Yeah, that'd probably be good. I appreciate that. We're not calling for division, but it is we're a call for a roll call vote. Lacey, if you could help us.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, Chair Myers,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelsey.
Aye.
Commissioner Satterberg. I think he had to leave. Okay. Vice Chair Quinn.
Aye.
Commissioner Webb.
Aye.
Assistant Chief Bendixson.
Aye.
Commissioner Sapp.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Yes.
Commissioner Raynon.
Aye.
Commissioner Couch.
Hey,
Commissioner Anaya.
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter. Commissioner Kendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Commissioner Pickup.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Logue.
Aye.
Commissioner Condawal.
Yes, aye.
And Commissioner Jarvis Couch.
Aye.
We got 16 yeses and 1 no.
Okay, motion carries. Also, to Commissioner Couch's point, I would like to refer the commission and regarding this matter for further discussion if necessary to WAC 139-03030. I apologize for not quoting the appropriate statute at the appropriate time, but it says a request for exemption, waiver, extension, or variance may be made only by the head of a law enforcement or corrections agency on behalf of an employee or employees directly affected by the regulation. I apologize, Commissioner Couch. I wish I had looked at that sooner and provided that guidance, and that's my error. Apologize for that. Commissioner Condenwall.
Sorry, my hand is
Maybe
up
you're
from the
just
vote.
voting.
I just forgot to take it down. My apologies.
No problem. Thank you very much. So with that, we have made a determination which we will add to the official process, I guess, rules of the commission, rules of order, I guess, maybe. Commissioner Couch, help me out. It would be rules of order for the commission.
whatever we'd like to call it, standing rules, standard operating
Standing
procedures.
rules. So we'll make that standing rules, and then regarding the motion today, and as well as in reference to WAC 139-03030, again, my apologies. That's where we are currently. Commissioner Raynon.
To Commissioner Couch's request about, standing rules or operating procedures, I wanted to know how that typically the commission would go about developing those. Is that something the staff would work on? Is that something we would create an ad hoc committee of commissioners to work on with the staff to put something together? I want us to move forward with that because I support that recommendation wholeheartedly. And I don't want to keep talking about it quarter after quarter, right? I actually want to see some proposed policies, procedures put in place and presented. So I'm assuming since we don't have those, it hasn't been done before. So I would propose that we either form a ad hoc committee or have the staff put together a draft or something along those lines for us to consider at a future meeting.
Thank you. Vice Chair Quinn?
I would just, there have been processes and procedures. Not to say that we can't do it. And I would kind of leave that to the executive director on how they present it. But I think there is a process that follows the law and then what we are tasked with doing. And sometimes it has been in the past where staff gives us the framework and then recommendation, as I understand it, and then we can refer back to the law. So it's an additional thing to do, and how it's done, I would defer to the executive director and the administration, but definitely highlight that maybe this is with the size of our commission now, may require some time and effort.
Thank you. Once again, it is up to this body to decide what your standing rules or standing order, whatever you want to call it, look like. So I would defer to each of you to decide how you want to make that look. Commissioner Thomas?
Being new to the class, it's very helpful to have a curriculum expectation. And I don't think it has to be a complicated document, but even knowing, how do I appropriately recognize or address somebody? Or what is a standard for things that frequently happen within the commission, like what happened today? What is the procedure when somebody says, I want a variance? What has been the procedure? And just generality rules would be very helpful. And I mean, they don't have to be written in stone, but it would be nice to know how the commission has operated in the past and what they see as procedurally correct in situations.
And understanding that this body will determine what you feel is procedurally correct going forward. Is there a recommendation? Commissioner Logue?
As someone very new, this is my first meeting. I would just throw out that I am happy to be part of any committee that might want to work on this moving forward.
Sounds good. So in order to move this forward, because I know our time is already at 2 hours, if there are any commissioners that want to work with myself or the vice chair to develop those, and perhaps the vice chair, since my time is coming to an end, to put together some standing, gosh, I keep forgetting, standing rules for the commission. Again, like you said, like Commissioner Thomas pointed out, it doesn't have to be really super extensive or complicated, but it would allow us to have a framework of how we want to proceed and how we want to make this work. So I will leave it up to you to contact Vice Chair Quinn and myself if you would email us, and if you're interested in being on a member of a work group. I think at staff, Commissioner Executive Director Alexander, I'm assuming staff would probably help to participate in that process also. I just hate to put more stuff on you, but
Okay.
It is kind of what it is.
We're already working on some of the policies for your review. So there's some of it's already done. So if we could get that to you, and maybe that would be a starting place. Because obviously we want the commissioners to have as much input as possible, but we also want to make sure that it doesn't take forever. As Commissioner Raynon stated, he wants something to start working through. So maybe we can provide a framework and then you can kind of fill it in as you see, or you can give us some feedback. However you want to do it, we're happy to help.
Great. Back to the agenda, moving along. We did have a variance request. However, I believe this request is now moot, given the fact that the commission ruled in the way it did in regards to how the request would become forward, and as well as reference to this WAC, unless someone wants to make a motion otherwise. Okay, hearing no response, we'll move on to kind of what I thought was going to be the most robust discussion today, which is certification and retroactive investigations for decertification. And this was at the request of commissioners, so hopefully everyone will have an opportunity to chime in. I don't know what you want to do regarding our times constraints. If anybody has time constraints, we want to be respectful of your time and don't want to shortcut our discussion. So if we feel, or if you feel that we are unable to give this the time that this policy discussion is due, then we can certainly continue the meeting to another day or schedule a second special meeting. Commissioner Hendricks.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much. Very robust discussion. I've really enjoyed this. I do have some community stuff I have to do. I'm running late as it is, so I would have to beg off whatever the commission decides to do. I stand in support of, obviously, but I can't stay much longer. I've got to go do some stuff. So just letting you know.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Commissioner. Commissioner Robinson.
Yes, sir. And this was actually something I was contemplating prior to this meeting, considering the context and the gravity of the issues that we are discussing and we'll be discussing for some period of sustained time, at least in the immediate future. So I'm also going to make a motion that considering the gravity of the issues, and again, the need for continued in-depth and meaningful conversations, as well as informed and meaningful actions being able to be taken on these important subject matters, that our meeting frequency be increased to twice monthly for the next 3 months, yet this also being continually evaluated as we are able to move through the subject matters. Just because, like today, there's so much to talk about and we must talk about it, we must unpack it, and we must also get something done.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do apologize for I know that there's so many new commissioners, and I apologize if I come across as being arrogantly trying to point anyone in a particular direction, and understanding that each of you are trying to get your feet under you and make sure you understand the importance of the process and the importance of what you're making decisions upon. So I do apologize for that. We will make sure that future commissioners, as they come on board, will have more information. And I'm sorry, some of you, I'm sure, feel struggled or pushed and challenged in this regard. So I take responsibility for that. So there's a motion made. Is there a second for discussion?
I second.
Motion made and seconded by Commissioner Johnson to have more frequent meetings. I don't know if you're meaning special meetings or if you want standing meetings. What was your thought there, Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, so my motion was to have meetings minimum of twice monthly for at least projecting into the next 3 months, but this also to be evaluated as we're kind of going along. If we start getting stuff off our plate and we're able to actually make some decisions, stand behind those decisions, move on to some other stuff, start getting the stuff kind of cleared up, and it lightens our load a little bit, then let's pivot again and stop the necessity and go back to status quo. But I think at this point in time, especially with the gravity of the issues, the complexity of it, the context of not only these issues, but of also the depth of the conversations that need to happen, we need more time and we need more meetings.
Okay, the next commission meeting is scheduled for March what?
9th.
Commissioner Kelsey?
Just for purposes of discussion, I like the idea of more meetings, not necessarily just because I like attending more meetings, but I agree with Commissioner Robinson that there's a lot of important issues to discuss, and as our commission continues to grow, we tend to get a lot more discussion, so giving everybody a fair shake. At the same time, I don't like the idea of 2 a month, only because we're always going to have some very important topics. We are in a time period of a lot of change in Washington State and how law enforcement's impacted. And again, the reason why many of us are on this commission is because we are representing other people and we're trying to raise voices. And so trying to do too many things just because, and maybe I'm selfish on this part, I have my normal job. I know Commissioner Robinson is on many, many committees and has many tasks. I don't want to cumbersome or over cumbersome any of the commissioners, but also allow us time to be able to listen to the people that are trying to give us some of the feedback as well. Adding a couple extra meetings, I would agree to, but I don't want to just make it just this one topic and this one issue needs some more. We've already had some discussions, but let's schedule out maybe a couple more meetings throughout the rest of the year to be able to have this, but also allow us time to digest it. Nothing needs to be happening immediately, and maybe there'll be some dissension on that, but I think that we're moving forward and we're making progress, and that's what the important goal is.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Robinson?
I'd like to yield the floor to Vice Commissioner Quinn and then make my comment.
Vice Chair Quinn?
I always wonder if I should take that from Commissioner Robinson if he sizes me up. I actually agree with the last commissioner. We did that in the implementation of the RCWs, where we just set kind of a working calendar. And, I think making, I think it's in its purpose, it definitely sounds good and we should be working more. But I also think there's a piece where we need to make sure that people can plan for these additional meetings. But I think it's, having additional working meetings so we know exactly, okay, we're going to go through this process. I think what will also help is that this item, which is good that we're having an open dialogue, but let's get some documentation around what we're talking about as well, which would be great. Kind of here's the interpretation of the law, here's some considerations. I just remember working through the WAC rule process where we knew going in that we were expected to be responsive actually to not only the community, but just the issue. And we held ourselves accountable to that as well.
Great points. Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, and so and not again, this Vice Chair Quinn, and I'm never trying to set you up. Just see where you're going and see if I can align, and so in thought and in spirit of this motion, the real thing is to really address what you both have addressed, Commissioner Kelsey and Vice Commissioner Quinn, that and the agreement that we need more space to get this stuff done. And so I'm amiable and open to amending my motion in whatever way seems suitable to deal with the load that is on our table right now. And this next topic of conversation must be dove into. It must be done with a considerable amount of time and consideration, not only for the subject matter and the context, but also, again, for the new commissioners coming on board, for the feelings and the thoughts that are going to come up in the space. And we can't do it in the last half an hour of the meeting. Can't be done. I will not participate in that. So that is really what I'm trying to, and I also know that we've got big stuff coming down the pipeline too. Than that, so I'm just saying, we've got to be used to getting outside the box a little bit on this and making sure that we are being fidelic when dealing with the caseload and our responsibility to the public and the law enforcement human family that we are serving here on this commission, by giving this thoughtful consideration and meaningful time in these meetings to get to it and not only to get to it well and to get something done.
Thank you. Commissioner Raynon?
Yeah, I'll just echo what Commissioner Robinson said. I agree that we have a lot of important work that we need to get done. And one of the challenges we face by having whether it's a monthly meeting or a quarterly meeting. We say the meetings are going to last a certain amount of time, but they inevitably go beyond. And so to help our commissioners be able to plan for the necessary amount of time to do the work, I think we need to be able to set schedule. And if we say we're going to go till noon or 1, that's, you know, where we go to, because I mean, as Commissioner Kendrick, you know, he has to leave. There's others that may have to leave as well. Some of us don't have as flexible schedules as others, you know, because of our day jobs. So want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to participate in these important discussions. And so having more regular meetings, shorter meetings, 2-hour meetings, will allow us to do that more consistently, is just the thinking. And so that's, I would support more regular meetings as proposed by Commissioner Robinson.
Great. Is there additional discussion regarding this motion to schedule 2 meetings per month for the next 3 months? Commissioner Kelsey or Commissioner Robinson, did you have something else? Okay, Commissioner Kelsey.
Just point of clarification, our quarterly meetings are set by WAC, is that correct?
Yeah, well, they're scheduled. We have to provide notice, yeah. So these would be considered.
I wanted to say that WAC created what comprises of the commission and then how often we meet. I just don't remember the exact language, and it might have been a minimum of quarterly or at least quarterly, something along those lines. And so therefore, other than special commission meetings, which we can always call that we have in the past, it may be conducive to the issue at hand to sit there and say, hey, due to the size of the commission and what we're trying to accomplish, to actually open the WAC and make an official there. So we either go to, you know, twice quarterly or monthly or whatever the commission decides. As far as the topics at hand, I nothing against Commissioner Robinson here. The 2 a month, I don't know if I'd support, but I think that we could easily, between March and June and September, we could add at least 2 more for the immediate topic where we have open discussion. So at least add 2 more commission meetings until we open into the WAC and actually get something more firmly established.
Yeah, I took, Commissioner Robinson can correct me if I'm wrong, but I took your motion to indicate that you're calling for special meetings to be added, just as we have added today as a special meeting. We would be adding some special meetings in between the regular required quarterly meetings. Is that accurate, Commissioner Robinson?
Yes, and that captures the spirit of what I'm articulating. Yes, that we would have those special meetings. I suggested, and I'm putting forth in my motion, twice a month, just for, and I suggested the next 3 months. But if you remember, my motion 2 also said that also that to be adjusted and to be evaluated as we're moving along. Right. So if we, yeah, so if we name a special, we name that, we agree with that, we get on the other side of March and like, hey, we've cleared up our plate. All right, back to business as usual. Let's roll.
Right. Commissioner Thomas.
I'm going to be really brief. We have specific subjects that come up, like the one that is before us now, that it's pretty obvious that there needs to be extended conversation and maybe extended information provided. I think specialized meetings should be scheduled around a particular topic. If that topic comes up and we know that there's going to need to be lengthy discussion, then we schedule a specialized meeting to have that specific discussion so that we're not inundated with the general business and we can focus on that particular topic.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Lacey, did you have something you wanted to add?
I just wanted to add that due to the Open Public Meetings Act, we have to notify of a public meeting about 30 days in advance. So if we decide on a new date now, we're going to have to wait a little while for that meeting.
It's 30 days. I thought it was 20. I thought we only had to give 24 hours notice for. for a public meeting?
It has to be, it has to be approved and posted. Sorry, I'm getting in.
Okay. We'll find out on that because that
Whack
would, oh, is it, what's the whack?
42-30-075.
Okay. Commissioner, Vice Chair Quinn?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of pick up where Commissioner Thomas, I thought she did a great job of describing at least my intent, but also the further understanding of Commissioner Robinson's proposal. I think that makes sense. Do it as we go. Maybe have a couple out and then set it, versus trying to just solve it all and say we're just going to double the meetings throughout the rest of the year. I really like the motion now. I have no opposition to it. And I think that also holds us accountable to being prepared and participating. And so I really like the proposal as further clarified by Commissioner Robinson and highlighted by Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Lacey, what was the whack you quoted?
42.30.075. Schedule of regular
That's
meetings,
RCW?
public meetings. What?
That's an RCW or a whack?
RCW.
Oh, RCW.
We have to file with the code reviser.
Yeah, that's a regular meeting though. What is it for a special meeting? Regular meetings, we've done that. That's what Commissioner Kelsey was referring to, was having that published schedule of regular meetings, which are the quarterly meetings. So I think we need to find out what we need to do for a special meeting under 080. Can be called at any time by the presiding officer, governing body, or the majority of the members with delivering notice. Delivered to this. So it looks like we can do it in less than 30 days, but I would defer to staff and the AAG. Since these are special meetings, not scheduled meetings, I believe we could call those more frequently in accordance to the intent of the motion that's before us. But I am not a lawyer, so I will defer to our lawyer friends in the audience, in the commission. Vice Chair Quinn, did you have something else? All right. Commissioner Dreverskrat. I will get it right one of these days.
Dreverskrat. I believe that the RCW requires 24-hour notice for special meetings.
Okay, that's what my recollection also. As long as we get proper notice. So with that, is there any further discussion on the motion to add some more meetings during the next 3 months? We already have a couple of special meetings added already. So I think what I'm hearing from Commissioner Robinson is that we would have a total of 2. So we don't necessarily need to add 2 more each time, but we already have some special meetings coming. So we could just get those filled in. We have this a regular commission meeting coming in March. So if I understand your motion, we would have a second special meeting in March, and then at least 1 or 2 special meetings in April, and 1 or 2 special meetings in May. To get
Yeah, so right, and for that to be adjusted as accordingly as we're going along. So
Any further?
Yes, sir, and if I may clarify too, and so my spirit without trying to overtalk it is that to let the needs dictate our actions instead of continually trying to funnel this stuff into some silo that's just not working. So that is my intent.
I hear you. Yeah, it sounds good. I think I understand your intent, and I think staff understands your intent. So with that, is there any further discussion? We'll be adding some special meetings. We'll make sure that they have adequate statutory notice, and we make sure that each of you have adequate notice so you can set the time aside to participate. I'm anticipating that I agree with that. I think the discussion about retroactive certification investigations is something that should be its own topic and its own meeting. And if we get sidetracked, like Commissioner Thomas talked about, the day-to-day business, we're just never going to get there, and we're not going to have the time to honor each other and listen to each other and share our opinions, our direction as from a policy standpoint. We have asked for an opinion from the Attorney General's office. They are still doing the legal research. So we really would, this would be truly a policy decision before this body. And I think we need to have the time and the space to make that work. Are there any further discussions? Lacey, you still have your hand up. Did you have something else?
Nope, sorry about that.
Okay. No problem. The only nice thing about the hand thing is it does move you to the front of the screen. Then I know you have your hand up. Commissioner Raynon?
Yeah, regarding that policy question that was asked of the AAG, did we ask them whether we can do it, or did we ask them how can we do it?
Yes.
Because the way you ask the question is very important. So
yes,
I would hope that we would have asked the question how we can do it. And I hope they would be prepared to answer that question when we meet on this topic in the very near future.
Well, I don't know that they would give us advice on how to do it. That's a policy decision. But I think the legal opinion would be whether or not it's legal, constitutional, and the legal parameters or jeopardy that would occur or not occur from those decisions. And the AG's office is just not yet prepared. It's a pretty complex legal discussion because it does involve ex post facto. It does involve some state and federal constitutional issues that are certainly much above my pay grade. So we'll leave it to the attorneys to figure out. And we don't have, and for today's discussion, unfortunately, the memo that we had was, hey, we need more time. We're still looking into it. So I don't know it would have helped to answer that question, Commissioner Raynon, right at this point. Commissioner Kelsey?
Well, I think we still have the discussion here. And again, not to belabor my side of it, I don't mind adding a couple more. I think Commissioner Robinson was open to having a little less or more of a discussion about how many. If we already have an extra special one, I would say just for now that we look at maybe an extra meeting in April. And then by then we'll have a better idea of where we're at. And then we might be able to set something a little bit more moving forward on how often or how many more special commissions we meet. So that would give us a March 8th, a second one in March, and then a third meeting in April. Would you be open to that just to get the motion settled today as far as the next couple special sessions, and then we can decide from there how often we need it?
Commissioner Robinson, I know that's not your original motion. This is just a point for discussion.
Yeah, and so Commissioner Kelsey, so am I hearing you offering an amendment?
Yes, I apologize. I could make it more formal. I was going to leave it to you, but I'd like to make an amendment to your motion that we add 2 more special commission meetings. There'll be April. And then actually, I'm sorry, my amendment would be to add 1 more special session. That would be April. By the April meeting, we can then have further discussion about how many special sessions that we need. We'll already have 3 meetings, so my amendment is just to add 1 for April at this point, and then we can go forward from there.
We're going to buy you a new microphone too. It's bad. So with that, so what I understand is there'll be another special meeting. So we have a regular meeting in March. I do think we need the second special meeting in March, either to have this discussion before at the regular meeting and then bump the other agenda items to the special meeting, or vice versa. But I don't want to keep kicking this can down the road. I think we need to set aside time and the space to have this discussion. So I think that needs to be done in March. And then I'm hearing April. And Lacey, could you remind me of the other special meetings we already have scheduled? Today being one of them.
Let me pull it up real quick. I just had it.
I want to honor the motion that was before us. And there's been an amendment proposed to the original motion, but we have not yet received consensus from the original motion maker of the original motion.
So we have oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Lacey.
Go ahead, Lacey, your special meeting, what are the other meeting dates?
April 27th.
Okay.
So in the interest, if I heard your friendly offer, Commissioner Kelsey, was to go ahead and add an additional one to April. And for me, that is not, does not speak to the spirit of the intent of what I'm trying to, of the motion that I put forth here. I think we need more than that. I believe that there's been consensus in the room, at least from the people that have spoken up, that's needs to happen. So at this point in time, if that is your amendment to add and to start dealing with these special meetings after the month or in the month of April, I do not support that.
Okay. So is there any further discussion on the original motion before us, which is to add? So we have a total of 2 meetings per month for the next 2 months, which would mean 2 meetings in March, 2 meetings in April, and 2 meetings in May. That's the motion before us, with the caveat that those meetings could be scheduled ahead and advertised and given notice. But the motion is such that we can cancel those if they're not necessary, which I would argue is probably not going to be the case. Just guessing. Vice Chair Quinn.
I hate to add 5 minutes to a 40-minute conversation about
meeting,
but I'll say, yeah, but I'll say this because I think we're at a place where we can move forward. But I also think that it's healthy to have a conversation about our individual responsibilities to getting through these topics, and because of the weight of the topics. And so I am still in support of the Commissioner Robertson's motion, and it would be great to also maybe talk about how we can make sure that we can all feel comfortable diligently getting through the items, even on the special meetings, because I think that's kind of out of respect to all of us in our time that we're committing here as well.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the motion before us? All right, motion's before us. All in favor of the additional meetings, which would total two meetings, either in regular or special, for the next 3 months? All in favor? Man, I'm just going to try to do this. We'll do this the easy way. If it doesn't work, we'll do a roll call. But all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Any opposed? If you're opposed, please raise your hand. So if you didn't have your hand up before, take your hand down, put your hand up if you're opposed. So I see Vice Chair Quinn, are you opposed? You have your hand up. Oh, no. Okay.
No, I'm slow in the draw.
I got you. I got you. Commissioner Kelsey was opposed. Any other opposition? Based on the vote, the motion carries. So we will schedule those meetings and we'll get that notice out to you as soon as possible so you can set aside time in your busy schedule. All of you right now are thinking, oh, no, more meetings. But I do agree that this is important stuff, important business, and we have to share and we have to create the space and then share the time with each other to make this happen. There's something else you want to address about sharing space, Vice Chair Quinn, or is that something we want to talk about at the next meeting? Okay.
No, let's just talk about it at a future meeting. But as the vice chair, I just think it's important to do that as we continue and grow as a commission.
As a body, yeah, I agree. Okay, so what I'm hearing, and I will look for a motion. Are we going to table the discussion on retroactive certification investigations to a special meeting for today? Okay, motion made and seconded by a couple of different commissioners, Robinson, Commissioner Ayala. Oh yeah, just a minute. I'm going to get it right. Hang on. I make notes. Anaya.
Yeah.
Bam. Okay, Anaya. Motion made, second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Any opposed? Commissioner Couch, are you opposed? I think, okay, gotcha. You're in favor. Okay, so that will be continued to a special meeting with what I believe the intent is to create the space to have just the discussion on that for the meeting. So we'll leave it up to staff. I'll work with Lacey and the executive director to look at the next agendas to make sure we can get through either the regular business stuff on the 9th and then have a special meeting thereafter. I will say I'm going to be out of state 23rd, but we'll see if we can schedule something in so we get everybody's space, because I really think it's going to be a discussion. And we also need to decide if we want to set aside 2 hours or 3 hours. It depends on how long people can make it without going to lunch. So we'll at least plan for 2 hours, I would say. All right, is there any other new business? Here, seeing no further business before this commission, the meeting is hereby adjourned. I thank each of you for your time, energy, and your interest. It's awesome.